JewishHistory.org presents Rabbi Beryl Wine's 5,000 Years of Jewish History. One video clip at a time. Now for a special clip, the story of Purim.
Hello everyone, this is Beryl Wine, and I'd like to tell you the story of Purim. Purim is not just one event in Jewish history, it's a continual event. It's an event not only of terrible anti-Semitism and of a genocidal intent to destroy the Jewish people, but it's also a story about the survival of the Jewish people. And those are the two polarities, so to speak, of all of Jewish life. Jews are in Persia. Persia has conquered Babylonia. And the Jews are very satisfied being in Babylonia and Persia. The first generation of Jews bit off their thumbs so they wouldn't have to play their musical instruments for their Babylonian captors. The second generation already didn't bite off their thumbs. The third generation became good Babylonians. When the Persians conquered Babylonia, the Jews became Persians of the Mosaic persuasion. The king Achashverosh, well, he throws a tremendous party, an inaugural ball, except he does it for 180 days. And because he knows he has Jews that are coming, he has a glatt kosher Jewish table so that everybody can enjoy themselves. And the Jews participate. They feel confident that they're not in any problem here. They're going to be great citizens of the Persian Empire. The Lord has his ways, and they are inscrutable. Even great rabbis like me don't have any clue as to why things happen. And all of a sudden, he appoints a new minister by the name of Haman. And Haman's purpose, his single purpose, is to destroy the Jewish people. That's his agenda. That's his program for Persia. And he tells the king the Jews are subversive, the Jews have all the money, we'll take the money away from them, we'll be able to finance everything we need. In the Second World War, much of Germany's war effort was financed by Jewish assets that they stole and took away. One of the great ironies is that, so to speak, the Jews helped kill themselves, or Jewish money did. In any event, the king also has a beauty contest to pick a new queen. The old queen, he got tired of her, so he got rid of her. And there's always that goes along with power, the discarding of the old. And unbelievably, the woman whom he chooses is a Jewish girl by the name of Esther, who comes from a very religious background, and she herself is an observant Jewess. Her uncle Mordechai has no choice but to allow her to become the queen. But he keeps close tabs on her, always staying outside, interested to know what's going to happen with her. So now we have the main characters of the story. We have Mordechai, the old rabbi. We have the king Achashverosh, who is given to delusional behavior and is very, very impatient and impulsive. We have Haman, who is evil incarnate, but he always cloaks it with diplomatic and with national interests. And finally, we have Esther, who, so to speak, is caught in the middle. Haman finally convinces Achashverosh that he's going to get rid of all the Jews, and we're going to get all the Jewish money, and Persia will grow because of it. And he says the Jews are subversive. Everybody else takes off Sunday, they take off Saturday. And Jews, they have their own food. They're not interested in the welfare of the Persian Empire. All of the calumnies about Jews that have been going on for thousands of years. what happens is that Mordechai, hearing of the terrible decree, tells Esther through a messenger, listen, now it's put up or shut up. If you're quiet now, God will save us somehow, but you and your family are lost. You're going to be out of the Jewish book. Your chance for eternity is forfeited. And Esther risks everything, because you can't just walk in on the king, even his wife. The king's got a tremendous harem. He doesn't need his wife. And she risks everything to go to the king and appeal to him. And she uses a subterfuge. They're going to have a banquet. She'll invite Haman to come to the banquet. The king will come to the banquet. Now the king is suspicious of Haman. Uneasy lies the crown on the head of the king. In fact, the king himself became the king through a coup, so another coup can make him not the king anymore. And he suspects Haman. He also suspects Haman that Haman wants to have an affair with his queen. Esther, who is aware of all of these machinations, plans very carefully how to trap Haman. Haman, like all dictators, like all haters, overplays his hand. He comes to the king and he says, we should give honor to someone who has done a great thing for the king. Now, the king had looked up in his book that the man who did a great thing for the king was Mordechai, who informed on 2 traitors. But Mordechai never was rewarded. So when Haman comes to ask, what should we do a great thing, Haman thinks that the great thing is going to be for himself. Because who else is worthy? It's the megalomania of the tyrant. Who else is worthy except me? All the tyrants have their pictures put up all over, right? You can see Hugo Chavez all over Venezuela, just as you could see the benevolent Stalin all over Russia, or Muammar Gaddafi all over Libya. There's a streak within them. Well, the king says to Haman, I want you to give this honor to Mordechai. Haman is crestfallen, A, because of the fact that he is not receiving the honor, and B, Mordechai is his mortal enemy. Mordechai is the only one that doesn't bow to him. Mordechai is the only one that ignores him. Mordechai is the only one that doesn't recognize his greatness. Anyway, Mordechai is dressed in royal raiment, and Haman has to lead him through the streets and say, this is the reward for someone who does a favor to the king. Haman is crestfallen. Then he has to go to the banquet with Esther. Well, when he comes to the banquet with Esther, she, after everybody has been lubricated sufficiently with wine, the king, by the way, is semi-alcoholic, Esther says there's an evil person that wants to destroy me and my people and my relatives, and that really doesn't care about the king. And the king, in his rage, because of his suspicions of Haman, asks, well, who is that person? And Esther points to Haman and says, he is this evil person. And the king rises in his rage, and Haman makes the error of falling on the same divan, on the same bed where Esther is sitting. And the king sees that as a sign of a sexual advance, and therefore Haman's fate is sealed. And he's hanged, he and his sons and all of his cohorts. And Mordechai is now raised to a position of power and honor, and he, together with Esther, saved the Jewish people. In a nutshell, that's the story. It's recorded for us in the great book of Esther, in the Megillah, in the scroll that is read twice on Purim, and has been done so for, so many thousands of years in all Jewish homes and synagogues. But the story continues for us in every generation. In every generation there's a Haman. In every generation there's an Achashverosh. The old Rabbi Mordechai never disappears. There's someone that will stand up at the last moment and say, let's do the right thing for the Jewish people, which is Queen Esther. All of this exists by us today as well. I don't have to describe the characters for you with their names. You can make up your own Purim story anytime you want. But the eternity of Israel is seen in the story of Purim. The rabbis say Purim Yom Kippurim. Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the Jewish calendar, is just like Purim. Purim is feasting and drinking. Yom Kippur is fasting and praying. How are they alike? They're alike in the fact that they testify to the eternity of the Jewish people and its ability to overcome its enemies and to survive all of the plots against it. And therefore, the rabbis said that at the end of days, so to speak, in the Messianic era, all of the other holidays may no longer be necessary, but Purim will always be remembered, because Purim is what got us to the Messianic era, to the end of days. So my friends, eat, drink, and be merry. Have a wonderful Purim. Remember the message of Purim. Put it into your lives, and be on the side of Mordechai and Esther, and never on the side of Achashverosh and Haman. Thank you. I'm Beryl Wine.
For more on Jewish history, go to jewishhistory.org.